here is breaking news. The Department of Justice admits, just in the last few minutes, full grand jury never reviewed the final Comey indictment. So, Greg, what say you about this? How does this impact this case?
Yeah, I have never, in doing this for over 3 decades, in a lot of high-profile cases and whatever, I have never seen a case of this procedural posture when the government, the Department of Justice knows, the world is watching. And one of the most fundamental requirements of an indictment is there has to be a finding by a grand jury. Typically, in state court, this is a federal grand jury, 13 people meet in secret, and then they determine if there's probable cause. That is, whether it's more likely than not that a criminal offense occurred. The defense lawyer can't go, your client can't go, so it's a process that is controlled exclusively by the prosecution. But what happens is they have to vote and return an indictment. You can't at the last minute switch bait, do this. So that is going to be, it's actually a bombshell revelation how you can continue with an indictment that was never approved by a grand jury.
Let me read you what we're seeing here, and we're just putting this on our website, WATE.com. We pulled it up for you here, but let me read this. And so here's the deal. Instead of presenting a new indictment to the full panel after it rejected one of the counts, interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan gave the grand jury's foreperson an updated version not seen by other grand jurors to sign.
It's remarkable, and here is the flavor of this case. And what I think you're seeing is a clash of the court, the judiciary, and the executive branch. That's going to it's going to be a collision, and I don't know how you're going to pick up the pieces when these two trains collide, because the judge has already made a number of statements and findings sua sponte throughout these pretrial rulings. One, he has said it appears the prosecution has chose to indict first, investigate last, and is concerned why there's no discovery ready and why it's not ready to be provided to the defense counsel. The second thing that is interesting, Comey's lawyers have raised vindictive prosecution, saying that this is politically motivated, which is completely forbidden by the Department of Justice guidelines, mandates, etc. Commonsensical. It's the Department of Justice.
And they're calling for this whole thing to be dismissed because of that.
Right. And the thing the judge asked, now this is a federal judge, looked at a prosecutor and said, is there a declination memorandum that says this case should not be presented? Ask yourself why that would be important. Well, as a criminal defendant, you are entitled to what's called Brady evidence. That means evidence that is exculpating or favorable to your defense. Obviously, if your defense is this is a vindictive political prosecution, and you had the investigators and lawyers say your client did nothing wrong, it is clearly favorable. It is clearly could be exculpatory. And when the judge posed that question, apparently the U.S. Attorney, Assistant U.S. Attorney was there, said, I am instructed not to answer.
Let me bring you up to date, everyone. Comey, obviously an outspoken critic of the president, during leaving his first administration, says that the president's personal spite that we brought up was the impetus of that 2-count indictment, stemming from 2020 testimony he gave Congress, brought just days before the statute of limitations was set to expire.
And I want to be clear, when we're commenting on this, I'm not talking whether, I'm not pro-Comey,
right,
anti-Comey, I'm not pro-President, POTUS, anti-POTUS. I'm just talking about in the federal court universe, when you do things, things are typically done in a very orderly fashion. And that is, you have the evidence, you have the investigation, you have the discovery ready when you go to a grand jury. Grand juries are completely autonomous. You cannot taint, influence a grand jury. And the grand jurors have to vote for a true bill or return that indictment. So those are all going to be big factors going forward on if the judge, now here's going to be where the collision we talked about.
And let's wrap it up real quick because
two-
we need to
two
go back
trains.
to Wendell Burkhart.
But two trains, is the judge going to sanction the Department of Justice, or is he going to dismiss this case?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Keep it tuned right here online and on the air. Now,